Nathan Carter never considered himself the type to believe in fate. He was logical, analytical, someone who built his life on facts, not feelings. That's why, as he sat in his car outside a dimly lit restaurant, he couldn't believe he had let his sister talk him into this. "This is ridiculous, Emma," Nathan groaned, gripping the steering wheel. Emma Carter, his ever-persistent older sister, stood outside the driver's side window, arms crossed, wearing that same smug expression she had perfected over the years. "Nate, you're 32, single, and if I let you, you'd spend every night buried in code, talking to no one but your computer," she said. "I'm just trying to help." "By setting me up on a blind date?" "Exactly," she grinned. "Her name's Lily Monroe. She's a nurse. She's smart, kind, and trust me, you'll like her." Nathan sighed, knowing there was no way out. He grabbed his keys and muttered, "Fine. But this is the last time." Emma smirked. "Sure it is." As Nathan stepped into the warm glow of the restaurant, he reminded himself to keep it simple, smile, be polite, end the night quickly. But as soon as he spotted the woman sitting at the corner table, his plan unraveled. Because the moment he saw Lily Monroe, something in his mind clicked. A memory just out of reach. He had seen her before. And then it hit him. She wasn't just any nurse. She was his nurse. Nathan slowed his steps, his heartbeat quickening as his eyes locked onto the woman sitting at the corner table. Lily Monroe. She wasn't dramatically different from his memory. Same soft eyes, the same neatly tied back hair, the same quiet composure. But Nathan couldn't shake the feeling. He knew her. He took a steadying breath. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But as he approached, Lily glanced up, and for a split second, something flickered in her eyes. Hesitation, recognition. Then, just as quickly it was gone. She smiled and stood, extending her hand. "Nathan," she said, her voice gentle. He shook her hand, holding it just a little longer than necessary. "Lily, nice to meet you." They sat down, a brief silence settling between them before Lily spoke. "Emma says you're some kind of tech genius?" Her tone was playful, teasing. Nathan chuckled, shaking his head. "Genius is a stretch. I run a software company. Nothing too exciting." "Already more impressive than me," Lily replied. "I'm just a nurse." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Just a nurse? Pretty sure saving lives beats staring at a screen all day." She smiled, but there was a flicker of something. Uncertainty, maybe discomfort? He caught it, but chose not to press. Instead, he asked, "So, how did Emma rope you into this?" Lily laughed softly, a genuine sound. "One of my patients is friends with her. Apparently, you're a nice guy, but tragically unavailable. So I figured, why not?" Nathan smirked. "Tragically unavailable, huh?" "Do you think it's true?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. Nathan wanted to deny it, but deep down, he knew it wasn't far from the truth. For the past 3 years, he had buried himself in work, keeping relationships at arm's length. He sighed. "I guess. I let myself stay busy." Lily nodded, something knowing in her gaze. Everyone's running from something. The comment landed heavier than he expected, an unspoken weight settling between them. He wasn't sure how to respond, wasn't sure if he should respond. Then, suddenly, a memory surfaced. Hospital hallways, the sterile smell of disinfectant, a gentle hand adjusting his blanket when he couldn't move on his own. Nathan blinked, staring at Lily more intently. The pieces of the puzzle began falling into place. "You were there," he murmured, voice dropping. Lily froze. "What?" 3 years ago, after my car accident, you were my nurse." She didn't respond right away, but her fingers tightened slightly around her glass. Then she smiled. Too carefully, too controlled. "You're mistaken," she said firmly. "We've never met before tonight." Nathan leaned back in his chair, watching Lily closely. She was lying. He didn't know why, but he knew she remembered him. She just didn't want to admit it. "Are you sure?" Nathan asked, his voice quieter now. Lily's polite smile didn't waver. "I think I'd remember if we had met before." But he caught it, the slight tension in her hands, the brief flicker in her eyes, before she looked away. Nathan nodded slowly. He knew pressing her now wouldn't get him anywhere. If she wasn't ready to talk, she wouldn't. "All right," he said, taking a sip of water. "Maybe I'm mistaken." Lily visibly relaxed as he steered the conversation elsewhere. They talked about their careers, travel, and books, but the thought never left Nathan's mind. Something was being left unsaid. That night, sitting in his car, Nathan opened an old folder on his phone labeled Recovery. Inside were photos from his time in the hospital, his totaled car, medical bills, a blurry selfie Emma had taken of him in a wheelchair. He scrolled through them all, stopping at the one image that made his breath hitch. On the bedside table was his hospital bracelet, and beside it a small note with delicate handwriting. "Stay strong, Nathan. The road ahead is hard, but you're harder to break." Nathan inhaled deeply. No other nurse had done this for him. It had to be Lily. He stared at the words for a long time before finally grabbing his phone. Without overthinking, he called her. She picked up on the third ring. "Nathan?" She sounded surprised. "I don't mean to make things weird," he began, keeping his tone as light as possible. "But I can't stop thinking about this." There was a pause on the other end. "I don't know what you mean," Lily said, her voice steady. "Lily, you wrote me a note," Nathan pressed, staring at the picture on his screen. "A small message on my bedside table. I still have it." She inhaled sharply, her fingers trembling slightly against her glass. "Nathan!" "I'm not trying to corner you," he said quickly, his voice gentle but firm. "I just need to understand. Why won't you admit it?" Lily looked away, her jaw tightening. A storm of emotions flickered across her face. Denial, regret, something deeper that she refused to name. Finally, she exhaled, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because if I admit it, it becomes real. And if it's real, then it means I mattered to you in a way I never should have." And then she hung up. Nathan stared at his phone, frustration and confusion twisting inside him. No, this wasn't just the past. Not when it still haunted him like this. Nathan couldn't shake the thought of Lily, no matter how clearly she had tried to shut him down. If the past didn't matter, why had she reacted the way she did? What was she hiding? For the next few days, he kept his distance, but the questions lingered. This wasn't just a coincidence, and he knew it. One afternoon, during his lunch break, Nathan stopped by a small cafe near the hospital where Lily worked. He wasn't intentionally trying to run into her, but when she walked in, he knew this wasn't an opportunity he could ignore. Their eyes met instantly. She hesitated for only a second before letting out a quiet sigh and walking over to his table. "Are you following me now?" she asked. Her tone teasing but cautious. Nathan arched a brow. "Just a coincidence. But since you're here, maybe we should talk." She hesitated, then pulled out a chair. He didn't want to push, but he also couldn't pretend nothing had happened. "I don't get it," Nathan said. "Why deny it? It was just a note. It's not a big deal." Lily stared into her coffee, debating her answer. Finally, she murmured, "Because I didn't want to be part of your past. I didn't want you to look at me and only see a reminder of something painful." Nathan was quiet. He hadn't thought of it that way before. But to him, Lily wasn't just a memory from a difficult time. She was the reason he had gotten through it. He looked at her, and for the first time he saw the hesitation in her eyes, the uncertainty. "Lily, you weren't just someone who took care of me when I was weak. You were the reason I stood back up." She lifted her gaze to his, something unreadable flickering across her face. Not a denial, but not acceptance either. "I don't know, Nathan," she admitted softly. "I don't know if I can let this become something more." Nathan knew Lily was still fighting her own battles, but whether she was ready to admit it or not, their past had already tied them together, and this time he wasn't going to walk away. Nathan hadn't seen Lily in the days following their conversation at the cafe, but she was never far from his mind. He wasn't sure if she needed space or if she was trying to push him away, but he knew one thing: this wasn't over. Then, late one night, his phone rang, an unknown number. He hesitated for a second before answering. "Nathan?" Lily's voice was rushed, unsteady. "Lily, what's wrong?" He sat up immediately, sensing the panic in her tone. "It's Noah, my brother. He's having trouble breathing. I'm taking him to the hospital now." Nathan didn't think. He grabbed his keys. "I'll be there." "Nathan, you don't have to..." I'm not asking, Lily. I'm coming. He didn't give her a chance to argue before hanging up. As he sped toward the hospital, a heavy weight settled in his chest. He had never met Noah, but from the way Lily spoke about him, he knew the boy was her entire world, and if anything happened to him, it would break her. When Nathan arrived, he found Lily standing outside the emergency room, arms wrapped around herself. She looked smaller, more exhausted than usual. When she spotted him, a flicker of resistance crossed her face, but instead of arguing, she just let out a shaky breath. He's inside. The doctors said his breathing attack was worse than normal, her voice wavered. Nathan didn't say anything. He just stood beside her. After a long silence, she finally spoke. I didn't want you to see this part of my life, Nathan. I don't want anyone to see it. He turned to her, his gaze steady. Lily, if I'm only here for the easy parts, then I don't deserve to be here at all. She studied him for a long moment, searching his face for something. Then, for the first time, she didn't push him away. Lily didn't know why she let Nathan stay that night. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was the overwhelming fear of losing Noah, or maybe it was something else, something deeper that she wasn't ready to admit. Either way, when Nathan sat beside her in the waiting room, she didn't ask him to leave. Time moved slowly. The hospital at night was eerily quiet, filled only with the hurried footsteps of nurses and the distant hum of machines. Nathan didn't say much, but he didn't leave either, and somehow, his presence alone brought a sense of calm Lily hadn't realized she needed. Near dawn, the doctor finally stepped out, offering a reassuring smile. Noah is stable. He'll need to stay a few days for monitoring, but he's out of danger. Lily nearly collapsed in relief. She nodded, thanked the doctor, then turned to Nathan. You don't have to stay anymore. He's okay now. Nathan tilted his head as if considering it, then simply said, I'm not going anywhere. A few hours later, when Lily was finally allowed into Noah's room, Nathan followed. The 16-year-old looked exhausted but alert, his gray eyes filled with mischief as he spotted the unfamiliar man standing beside his sister. So, you've got a boyfriend and didn't tell me? Lily let out a tired sigh. Nathan's just a friend. Noah arched a brow at her, then turned to Nathan. You sure about that? Nathan smirked. Not entirely. Lily rolled her eyes, but for the first time in days, a quiet smile tugged at her lips. Nathan didn't leave in the days that followed. He showed up every morning at the hospital with coffee for Lily, brought books and magazines to help her pass the time, and even played chess with Noah when the boy started getting restless. At first, Lily tried to keep her distance, but it was hard to ignore a man who stayed by her side without expecting anything in return. One evening, as Nathan handed her a warm takeout box instead of the usual dry hospital sandwich, Lily studied him for a long moment before sighing. Why are you doing this? Nathan leaned back in his chair, shrugging. Because I care. You don't have to. Lily, he said, tilting his head, I know you're used to carrying everything on your own, but no one said you have to do it forever. She was quiet. A part of her wanted to push him away, to protect herself from the possibility of disappointment, but another part, the part she had been trying to ignore, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. A few weeks after Noah was discharged, Nathan invited them on a picnic by the lake. Lily had planned to decline, but Noah eagerly accepted on her behalf, leaving her no choice. As the afternoon sun turned golden, casting a warm glow over the water, Noah wandered off to find a fishing spot. Nathan sat beside Lily, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small velvet box. Lily froze, her breath catching in her throat. Nathan took a steady breath before pulling out the small velvet box. He opened it, revealing a ring. Simple, timeless, just like what he felt for her. Lily, he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft. I'm not asking to change your life. I'm asking to share it. Every hard moment, every beautiful one. I don't want to stand on the sidelines. I want to stand beside you, always. He paused, glancing toward Noah, who was skipping stones by the water. I love you. I love him. And if you'll have me, I want us to be a family. Lily swallowed hard, tears stinging her eyes. She had spent years running, fearing what could break her, but this time she didn't want to run. Yes, she whispered. I'll marry you. 1 year later, Lily stood in the middle of the school courtyard, watching Noah with pride as he passionately presented his science project. He had designed a portable air filtration system for people with respiratory conditions, inspired by his own experiences. She could see the excitement in his eyes, the kind of hope he hadn't had before. Nathan stood beside her, hands in his pockets, just as proud. When the audience started clapping, Lily glanced at him and smiled. "You kept your promise." Nathan arched a brow. "Which one?" She squeezed his hand, her voice soft but full of meaning. "You didn't leave." Nathan gave her hand a gentle squeeze in return. "Because I never planned to." After the exhibition, the three of them walked back to the car. Noah clutched his most innovative idea medal, beaming as he explained every tiny detail of his presentation. When they arrived home, he rushed inside, leaving Lily and Nathan standing outside, the golden hues of sunset casting a warm glow over everything. Lily turned to Nathan, her heart full in a way she had never let it be before. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice laced with sincerity. Nathan tilted his head. "For what?" She smiled, a lightness in her chest she hadn't felt in years. "For staying, for becoming someone I could trust." Nathan reached out, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "Lily, I told you, we're a family." She took a deep breath, letting those words settle deep inside her. Family. It had once felt like an impossible dream, but now, with Nathan and Noah, she realized she didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. For the first time in years, Lily truly believed that her happiness could last. And this time, she wasn't afraid.